You know, it's just one of those days. We deadheaded to one place, and now we're going to turn around and go back that way. So it just happens sometimes. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up.
Right after this.
Yeah. Now remember, folks, we're in Wisconsin.
So, hi everybody, I'm Judy.
And I'm Jim, and welcome to It's a Highway Vlog, where you get to travel the country with us, and you don't even have to leave that cheese slicer at home.
So while you're sitting there cutting that cheese,
don't forget to like, hit that little subscribe button, and don't forget to ring the notification bell.
And keep cutting that cheese.
Don't. Because if you do, you'll miss something. Good afternoon. We are in Wisconsin. Yeah, there's been a question about that a couple times.
Only because you keep shutting on and off the video when I ask.
Okay, this is the third time, okay? Anyway, we're in Wisconsin. We are at the Portage Petro, north of Madison. And we unloaded this morning up in Minnesota after spending the weekend in Iowa.
Nice accent.
Yeah, well. And now here we are. So, why are we here? Well, we delivered in Minnesota this morning. We did not have a load. So our strategy from last week...
Yep, where we wound up with a load over the weekend. And what did we say when we decided we were going to take a load over the weekend? If we took a load over the weekend, what would happen? We probably would not have a load on Monday.
And we were right.
And we were right. So we do not have a load today. But we do have one for tomorrow.
We do have a load for tomorrow. And, surprisingly enough, we actually have a load for the following day. So, 2 in a row.
Yeah, but then after that...
Yeah, anyway, so, so our strategy worked in a way, it didn't. We got a load, but then we didn't get one for today, so we unloaded. Now, why are we sitting in Wisconsin if we unloaded in Minnesota? People were asking on a couple of our other videos the other day about Deadhead. Well... here's our thoughts. We unloaded in Minnesota, southeastern Minnesota, about 90 miles south of Minneapolis. Sort of not real close to what I would consider a real hotbed of freight anyway. And
the loads that we know come out were already dispatched before we got dispatched on this load.
Right.
I mean, the regular loads that come out of that area.
And so we decided to sort of help our chances. Are you sliding downhill? We're parked downhill. We're sliding down towards the camera. So we decided we would probably stand a better chance of getting a load if we started deadheading back towards Madison, which puts us within reach of stuff out of Chicago. There is a lot of freight that comes out of the Chicago area, obviously. So we thought we would come over here. The other consideration was that for some reason or another, we spent the weekend at a Love's truck stop, but we didn't take a shower. We just got busy yesterday.
TMI,
and,
I think, you know?
Yeah, maybe TMI. But we were going to take a shower yesterday morning, and then we ended up leaving so early. We didn't, so we needed a shower. So we came over here to the Petro on its way back to Chicago and took our showers. We're nice and clean now, you know.
Not that you can tell.
Nice and clean.
You know, the cool thing about the videos is nobody can smell us on the other side.
That's probably a good thing. A very good thing. Now, the odd thing is, we unloaded up in Minnesota. We came across Interstate 90.
You were driving. I was sleeping.
Yeah. Interstate 90, and then down to where 90 and 94 split, and then down here. Well, you know, just to show you how, you know, after 8.5 years, how crack, you know, expediters we are, guess where our load picks up at tomorrow? Just go ahead and guess. Yeah, back in Minnesota, up by Minneapolis.
Yeah, but it did pay us to at least go back up there, so, you know.
It's about 219 miles, I guess, from here back to our pickup. And so, but those miles will be paid because we figured that in with what the load paid us for the run mileage, which will take us over into Indiana. It will unload there Wednesday morning. And for all of those miles, it's still paid over $2 a mile, which is sort of our target, I guess. You know, I would like to make more than that per mile, but at least everything seems to pay us $2 a mile or better. So that's what we're doing.
So we get paid to go back up, but we didn't get paid to come down. So
yeah, that little 173 miles from where we delivered this morning to the truck stop, we did not get paid for. That was on our own dime, and then but we didn't have to pay for the shower. So yeah, all we paid for was the fuel. But now we will go back to Minnesota in the morning, pick that load up, and go to Indiana, and the load altogether pays us, I forget what it pays, over $2 a mile to run that load. So that's one of the things, Deadhead is, you would rather have freight on the truck at all times, but that's not possible. So we have to travel from one place to another to pick up the freight. We try to keep our deadhead as low as possible because deadhead miles don't pay nearly as well as loaded miles.
No.
So,
but when we look at our miles, we look at all miles, including deadhead.
Right.
When we look at a load, so we do get paid more than what our carrier pays us per loaded. I don't know how to explain that.
Right. Yeah. If like the loaded miles on this load probably pay $2.50 a mile or say something like that. I don't know how much they pay. Haven't really looked at it. But for the all miles, which includes the 219 miles of deadhead, then it still works out for us. So that's one of the things we consider when we take loads. It has to pay well enough for us to run. It cost us a fixed amount of money to run this truck per mile, and we have to make if we don't want to break even, so we have to run at a profit, and so that's sort of what we do.
Yeah, and did we talk about the fact that when we did come down here, we deadheaded down here because a lot in the areas of Chicago and Illinois and Wisconsin, loads don't generally come out ahead of time. They tend to come out the day of. So
right.
We were really hoping by coming down here, we get down here quick enough that we might have been able to pick up something this afternoon. But then that load came out and it paid really good for tomorrow, so we decided not to hang out for today and try to get a load.
We were offered a load that picked up today, but it didn't make sense to run the load. It took us to an area that wasn't the greatest, and the pay on it was not good.
Well, it wasn't that long.
It wasn't that long. They would not have been able to go up too much on the load if we would have, sent an offer back to them or whatever. So we didn't take that load for today. And we were pretty sure that the load would not pick up. We were over 200 miles away from the pickup. It was supposed to pick up in like 2 hours. And by the time we did get there, it was back over in Iowa. There was no real direct interstate route to get there. So we were going to be traveling 2-lane highways, which in all possibility, that load may have picked up tomorrow. In fact, that load eventually did come back out, and it was picking up tomorrow. So, we would have lost a day there for a load that didn't pay nearly as well as this one, or going to an area that just not that many loads come out of. So I guess we're okay. Our strategy, it
averages out. That's what I always say. Yeah, last week we made more than our goal,
right?
And this week we probably won't make our goal.
Nope.
So it averages out. We just and that's the whole plan. Even with the deadhead, that kind of stuff, the money averages out usually
right.
in the end. So we just sometimes you have to bite the bullet and
Well, we'll probably do a video on this at some point in time, but we look at goals on a weekly basis, and then we have to look at a monthly basis, which you were alluding to. So those 4 weeks throughout, a month sort of average out, and then we have a yearly goal. If we don't hit our weekly goal, which we probably will not this week, it's going to be a short week at the most.
Unless we wind up with a weekend load, which
we could end up with a weekend run again. But we
might
just
just
have
run
to see.
3 days in the weekend, and 3 days in the weekend.
Yeah, we just need to give one really good load, and then just set.
Yeah.
For the rest of the year. I mean, a really exceptional load. Anyway.
Running all over the country all year long.
Yes. So now we're starting to ramble. But we did want to talk about that. There have been a couple questions in the comments about Deadhead, and we would like to keep that to a minimum. Sometimes it's not possible or reasonable, and so we will run. We have deadheaded, I think, probably the longest we ever deadheaded for a load was over 1,500 miles, and that was out west. And we were essentially the only truck that could run that load at that time on the West Coast. And this has been a couple of years ago. And we ended up going to Canada, up into Vancouver, and taking a load. They deadheaded us up there out of Southern California.
Yeah.
But we were the only truck that could actually run this load for whatever reason.
And then there was another one where we ran from North Carolina to Texas.
Yep.
We were the only truck. We were the closest truck.
Well,
and that was a non-branded. They didn't want a truck.
Yeah, the truck we were in at the time did not have the FedEx logos on it, and they needed a truck that didn't have the FedEx logos, and most of the trucks do. So
because there's an incentive to do that.
So we ended up running that load, deadheaded all the way from Georgia to Houston. So if they pay us, we'll run it. I should point out there is one risk of doing that, and it's a risk that we take every time we take a long deadhead road, and it has came back and bitten us in the butt at least once, is there's always a possibility of that load canceling. And we had that happen to us once. They pay you what's called dry run pay, but
it doesn't ever really
No.
might cover your fuel, maybe.
This particular customer had it in their contract that they didn't pay much on dry run pay, so we deadheaded from Ohio home all the way up to Connecticut to take a load, and it canceled literally within a mile of where we were going. So we had literally driven the entire way. We're within a mile, and we got a phone call that the load was canceling.
And that doesn't happen very often, because that one I think was even sent out to us. You know.
Yeah, well, that was
back in the day where we got them sent out to us,
well,
but we had negotiated because we were coming from home.
We came from home, but it was a very good paying load. The load went to Colorado, so it paid us, the deadhead, I don't know, 750 miles up into Connecticut to take that load and then go to Colorado, and it still paid really well, and then the load canceled. And we got like next to nothing. If I want to remember, it was $159 for that, and I sort of wasn't a happy camper.
As you can tell, since he remembers the exact amount of deadhead pay we got.
So, but that is a consequence of deadheading. It doesn't happen too often.
But in general, and I know that other drivers can attest to this, a lot of times when your loads cancel, something better comes along.
Right.
And actually, I think we did wind up with something really good after that.
We actually ended up with a load going to Colorado, which is really odd. Different company, different customers, still paid really well. Paid a little less because we were already in Connecticut.
Yeah, but with our deadhead, or with our dry run pay, it wound up paying more for us to do that.
But that's really the only time that sticks in my mind where that has happened, where we've had a load cancel and then we've lost all the money because we deadheaded. It's just a chance we take. It's sort of a calculated risk, knowing that most of the loads within a year will not cancel. And if they want to pay you to drive empty across country,
and they're paying you the same amount as they pay you loaded, take it.
So anyway, that's our thoughts on Deadhead and our strategy and our just total lack of any sense, I guess.
So yes, well, it made sense at the time.
Yes, it did. It still makes sense. It makes sense that if they want to pay you for the miles, for us, I have no problem deadheading and picking up freight. We figure on the all mile rate and we don't worry about too much else.
So there you go, folks.
Yep.
Our thoughts on deadheading.
There you have it.
So long.
Well, good night.